failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So as case in point, our son, he went to Baylor, and he wanted to study computer science. So he starts out computer science. It's too hard. Changes his major. MIS. Just goes to MIS. It's too hard, right? It's okay. He's level. Went to accounting. Too hard. Okay. Say what are you going to do? How are you going to recover from this?
Yo, dude, you listening right now, you matter. Your role as a father is critical. You are important. The way that you show up will have impact for generations. 3 nuggets that hit me from my conversation with my friend Coach Mike today are: 1, when your kid fails, ask how will you recover from this? 2, the point of sports is character development. And number 3 is your time with your kids goes so fast, so enjoy it. Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview incredible fathers, gaining wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our own craft of fatherhood. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kiddos, currently ages 11 to 18, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 20th year of marriage. So yeah, man, I am in the thick of it. I'm in this with you, and I'm working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have such an incredible opportunity to impact our world simply by embracing our fatherhood role. This episode is brought to you by the Adventure of Fatherhood, helping men discover their powerful fatherhood role and build their fatherhood skills. The role of the father is to serve, guide, provide, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's guest is my friend, Coach Mike Harvey, incredible leader, incredible coach, developing hundreds of kids through track and field. Enjoy being inspired by my friend, Coach Mike. What is up, my friends? Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes. I'm already grinning ear to ear like I usually do because I love to pause and talk fatherhood and life, and I'm excited to get to know my new friend, Coach Mike Harvey. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Aloha, Ned. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So another local boy. We're here. Well, I'm on one island. You're on another island, but usually, I'm having a podcast with somebody hours ahead of me. So, so fun. We're here in the same time zone. So, Mike, right out the gate, you and I connected over my daughter, actually. She joined track and field a couple years ago. This is her second year. And just an incredible opportunity that she's going to be able to run with your team. So why don't we just this summer? So she's got a couple events. She's going to be traveling to mainland with you. So out the gate, what is it that you do and what got you into coaching track and field?
Yeah, Ned, thanks, man. And I'm really looking forward to your daughter running with us. I think she's an awesome talent. I had a chance to connect with her at the state meet, and she's so passionate about track and field, man. And I just, hey, girl, keep working, right? So I got into track and field here in Hawaii back in, I'd say 2015, 2016.
Okay.
My daughter at the tender age of 8 started running. And so I was a collegiate athlete. I played football at New Mexico State. I ran track at New Mexico State. This is the 30th anniversary of my 100-meter championship win in the the Big West Championship in the 100 meters. So I've been a sports fan, and athlete for a long time. And I got into track and field coaching, I think, when my daughter started to, really develop, right? And I wanted to be there as a parent first, and then, I enjoyed just getting into the track and field world, and it was a way for us to connect. So my daughter and I, we've traveled the country from meet to New York to Florida to North Carolina to Kansas to all over, man, to compete in track and field. So I started a club here in 2020. It's a way to help the school my daughter attends, Marinol School here in Honolulu, to help develop. And we grew from that, from just supporting Marinol to Goodness gracious, we have over 200 athletes statewide,
Wow. Amazing.
islands, and over 25 plus schools, both OIA and BIF and Maui and ILH. So it's been great.
Man, what a great way to give back. And I
Yeah.
want to talk a bit more about coaching, but I got a couple of like out the gate questions now that
hmm
we've connected on that. How old do you find yourself today?
Well, I'd probably say my eyes are getting older,
Yeah.
right? Because I can barely see anything without these readers, right? But I try to keep going.
Yeah.
I be 50 in November, right? Everybody
Oh
keeps reminding me
yeah.
of that. But if they want to race me, hey, let's find out. Let's find
Let's
out,
go.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. How many years you been married?
Oh man, I've been married 20 years. 20 years with my wife,
Wow.
right? We got married in
Yes.
2000. Oh, excuse me. I say 20. Well, it's 21. 21. We
Okay.
got married in
Okay. There you go.
2003
Nice.
in Texas, North Richland Hills, Texas. Been together for a little over 25 years. So it's hard to imagine, because my
Man,
wife and I,
congratulations.
oh, thank you. Thank you. We met later. My wife and I met later, I guess, in our mid 20s or so, but we've been
Yeah.
together half our lives, which is
Yeah.
incredible,
Wild.
right?
Wild.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Sarah and I are going to celebrate our 20th this July. So
Nice.
we're just creeping up right behind you. But man, it is one of the most amazing things, one of the best gifts we can give our kids, and then
hmm
one of the
hmm
hardest things
Yes,
for
indeed.
sure. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but definitely worth it. And then how many kiddos do you have and what are their ages?
Yes, sir. I have my daughter, Malia. She is 17. And I have a stepson who is 26, 27. I should know his age. He's 27, right? So he lives in Dallas, Fort Worth. And
Nice.
I raised him when he was 6 years old until he
Mhm.
graduated high school and went on to college. So, thing about that relationship is, he immediately, I'd say stepson only just as a quote, but by no
Yeah.
means, it was like that. Raised him. He went to Baylor University, graduated from Baylor in 2017. He lives in Dallas, Fort Worth, Dallas, Addison, actually. My parents immediately, brought him in as their first grandson.
Mm.
And he grew up around my family. Yeah. And still to this day, we're very close.
Man, that's beautiful. Yeah, what an honor. And I think that when we think about fatherhood, it's this posture, this opportunity, and how our world is just desperate for
hmm
that father figure. So for you to be able to do that is incredible.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, I'm gonna pause for 1 second. I
Okay.
keep hearing a clicking. I don't know if there's a clicking on
That's
your
me. Is that what you hear?
no, it's like it might be the headphones or the mic.
Let me see here. Maybe because I keep popping this pin. Let me put the pin down and see if that gets better.
Yeah, still okay, we'll try it.
Is-
We'll keep cruising.
okay.
Um, Okay, now we already established you live in Hawaii. How long have you lived in Hawaii?
Yeah, I've lived in Hawaii since 2014. We
Okay.
moved here from Texas, where we lived, and I moved here and joined the corporate organization, the HMSA, the
Oh yeah. So health
Hawaiian.
insurance
Yes, sir.
or
Health
insurance company.
insurance.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And my wife joined me, and I moved here in March. They moved here in June, and we've been here ever since.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so my business is employee benefits, so
Okay.
health insurance for businesses.
Yeah.
What is it you do now for a living? And I love and hate this question, but the reason I ask it is more so men can understand, like as we get into the fatherhood questions, fatherhood's a level playing field. It doesn't matter if you're high level corporate or you're, swinging a hammer. It doesn't matter. We both are going to
hmm
have to deal with, a 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Uh, so what is it that you do for a living now?
Now I'm a senior IT manager with Hawaiian Airlines. So I've been with Hawaiian since 2015.
Okay.
But I've been in the airline technology travel industry space since '98. Right.
Okay.
So it was my first job out of college. I was a software developer, Y2K software developer for
Nice.
American Airlines.
Okay. Okay.
And I grew up through there. So I've been in Hawaii for a little over 8 years now.
Wow. So a good place to be. So getting into fatherhood, what would you define the role of the father as?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say probably like leader, protector. I think as you mentioned, um, it doesn't matter if it's your own children or the children that you look out for. It's uh, providing guidance. So in a leadership perspective, I guess, yeah.
So what does it mean to be a leader?
Mm,
Right? There's so much language around leadership
yeah,
and being
yeah.
a leader and leadership books. What does it mean to you to lead?
Oh man, for me to be a leader is it's support.
Mm,
It's providing guidance. It's providing perspective. It's not always providing the right answers, but maybe it's providing some thoughtfulness around if you're going to make this decision. It's providing experience. It's providing um, stories. You know,
mm,
it's providing um, and I think I said support, but support in terms of I will I will be here whether you succeed or you fail.
mm. Yeah, and what are you okay with if there's a failure, quote unquote failure? What are you okay with around the failure?
Yeah, I'm okay with the plan. You know, so
Mm,
the beginning. What they say, planning to fail. No, excuse me, failing the plan is planning to fail.
yeah,
Right. So as case in point, our son, he went to Baylor and he he wanted to study computer science. So he starts out computer science. It's too hard. Changes
mm,
his major. MIS. Goes to MIS. It's too hard. Right. Okay. He's level. Went to accounting. Too hard. Okay. Say what are you going to do? How are you going to recover from this? So he found his way into
mm.
financial risk management. Right. Got his degree and graduated with all those changes. He graduated in 3 years.
Oh
Right.
wow.
So he had multiple job offers coming out of college, which was it was almost like he's being recruited, like it was a
Mm,
5-star recruit for positions, and he found a role in professional life in financial risk management. He works for a company doing Series 7, Series 6 financial support.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. Love it, man. There's a couple of things you said, Mike,
Hmm.
and the one that stuck out the most. I'll bring up the others as well,
Hmm.
but I think the power of questions,
Hmm.
especially from somebody who is like leading by living by example,
Hmm.
which like
Hmm.
that's the kind of coach, kind of man, kind of father you are. But the question, how are you going to recover from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if us men could bring that question in to our conversations with our kids at every age, right? If you
Hmm.
started asking your kid that at 5,
Hmm.
right? The cool thing is your relationship with your daughter, which I'm sure may come up, but by running, track
Hmm.
and field so much since 8, that question's probably come up a lot because
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth, man. My first experience around how emotional
Hmm.
track can be was
Yeah.
at the state meet a couple
Hmm.
weeks ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
I had no idea how
Yeah.
emotional it could be. So I think that the question, how can you recover from this,
Yeah.
um, puts you in that position of serving as the father, right, or
Hmm.
supporting.
Hmm.
Have you ever used that question and it either backfired or it worked really well? I don't know, a win or a fail on that comes to mind.
Uh, I think from a failure, I can't really think of any failures. I've been extremely blessed to um, not as a dad, as a coach, as a father, to not have many setbacks when I provide my children the opportunities. Right, I've been
Mm,
very,
mm,
I guess, and from the outside looking in, successful in a
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Right. Um, but I think just in the success that it does work because you're allowing them to grow and be who they will grow and be, right,
yeah,
and
yeah.
eventually you know by virtue of just generations, they'll pass on this legacy,
Mm-hmm.
to their children, whether that's their own children, or maybe they're a teacher or a coach, or some sort of leadership perspective of young people. So, but I just, I think, partly a lot of my skill comes from my dad.
Mm.
Providing me those type of guidance, right? I could think back to many stories. I could probably talk to you for hours just about some of the stories that he still gives to me, right? So some of them, like, he'll say, and I was like, man, that doesn't make a bit of sense. And then I'll go back, oh my God, he's right,
It hits you.
you know,
Yeah.
right? So, um, but yeah, just, you know, I may not always approve of the decisions that my kids want to make,
Mm.
but I gotta look back. Granted, it was, I'm 50, but it was 25 years ago, and I was making dumb decisions, right? Silly decisions, right?
Yeah. And they made you who you are today,
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yes, sir.
And that's such an interesting perspective to have, right? Or posture to have. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, um, your kids are going to make mistakes, and then
Mm-hmm.
how do we come alongside them and support them? And I love how you said that. Like, I may not approve of every one of
Mm-hmm.
their decisions. Like, even you talking about your son in college,
Mm-hmm.
hearing the story, you're like, oh man, you probably get annoyed by this constant change. But
Yeah.
there wasn't any animosity in your voice. It was like, okay, how are you going to recover from this? How are you going to
Mm-hmm.
recover from this? And let them sort of find themselves
Yeah.
through the struggle.
Indeed. Indeed.
And I think that's so important for kids. You look at really successful people, it's like they failed a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
of times.
Indeed. Yes, sir.
Um, okay, before I move on to the next question, the other thing you said about the role of the father, and it kind of goes in line with how are you going to recover from this, was giving them perspective and experience, not
Mm-hmm.
just answers. I think dads, if first we got to be living our own lives,
Yeah.
right? We got to
Right.
go get experiences ourselves, and then be
Mm-hmm.
willing to share those with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Perspective is so much better than an answer because it
Yeah.
lets them wrestle with it. So I really
Mm-hmm.
love that. Okay, you brought up your dad. Where does your dad
Mm-hmm.
live?
My dad lives in Waco, Texas. So he's my mom and parents. In fact, their 50th anniversary is here in a couple of
Ooh,
days. June
that's what's
June
up.
1st. I've been trying to get them to come here. They've only been to Hawaii once,
Okay.
and they were ready to go when they arrived. Right, they're country folks, right? So, so the travel and the plane and the
Yeah,
TSA and all that kind of stuff is just like, nah, we're not for them, right? So,
yeah,
but my dad lives in Waco, Texas.
love it. So, what's something you already kind of talked about how awesome your dad was, but what's
Mhm.
something you so appreciated about your dad?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think just the guidance that he's given us, right? Given me, certainly the support, allowing me to, uh, you know, uh, prospectively make the decisions on my own, right?
Mm.
He will always end up with, like, well, this is what I would do, but you do what you want to do. Right, so instead of saying I need to do X, Y, and Z. So and a lot of that, I give, the sort of the coaching aspect, right? Well,
Mm.
from my daughter example, right? Like, okay, look, I get it, you want rest, but here's the thing: you're missing out on days, you know right? There's days that you're missing out on, right? And
Mhm.
the target isn't going away, right? So
Mm.
if the target is high school graduation, or some event, or college recruiting, track and field recruiting, right? If the days that you miss, you can't double up the work,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah.
So um so I think, my dad would, he would reiterate that, um you know ultimately you will have to live with the decisions that you
Hmm.
make, right? With the support, with the kind of like a
Yeah.
netted support, but not so much a solid lifting, holding up but just like a support. And I'm grateful for that, because I was the first excuse me, I was the first Harvey right, for my family to move away, right?
Mm,
So I moved away I went to school in New Mexico State. I lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then I moved to Hawaii. And people are like,
yeah.
"What is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would you want to live right here in this I-35
Yeah.
corridor
Yeah.
here in Waco, Texas? Yeah,
So a couple questions that I'm trying on. We'll see how they go. Um, and I'm going to pause. I don't know if
okay.
you hear your phone alarm going
That
off.
it just went off. Yeah, let me turn it off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me
No,
turn
it's
it
all
off.
good.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So question number one is, what's something, if you can think of anything, that your dad would say to you when you were a kid or young teen, early college, that would just make you cringe, and then now you say it?
um, I'm not one of your little friends.
You say that to your daughter now?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the
Uh,
time. I think I even said it most recently for prom.
yeah.
There was what her friends were going to happen. All her friends. My friends are,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, I'm not one of your little friends. You know, so
Uh,
yeah,
that's
and
so good.
just the words coming out of my mouth. My dad, I could just picture my dad
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
"That's
Yeah.
right, right."
Now, and you can skip this question if you want
Mhm.
to, but is there anything you wish your dad would have done differently?
Um, no, I don't. I don't think so. I think now I do. I wish. I mean, they're retired, and I wish they would have the opportunity to. Um, I wouldn't say that they're enjoying retirement the way they want to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
retirement for me is like, man, I can't wait. I'm gonna be on a plane every week, right?
Yeah.
Flying
Yeah.
somewhere. But for them, their retirement is sitting on the front porch, watching the cars go by.
Mm,
Seeing, oh, who was that? Oh, so and so just moved in. So and so, that kind of stuff, right? So, but I
mm,
do wish there was an opportunity that they would be interested in traveling,
yeah.
seeing, so they get up to the casinos. When I say the casinos, the ones that are in Oklahoma, not
Mm.
not the ones in Vegas. But it's they enjoy it, right? And they
Yeah.
they they deserve it. Yeah.
I'm starting to ask this question a bit more for two reasons. Like, one, I'm 40, you're
Hmm.
49.
Hmm.
We're grown men with our own families. We've been on our own for a long time.
Hmm.
And there's still this longing, this feeling of, I want to be connected to my dad. His
Hmm.
opinion of me, his time with me
Yeah.
matters. And I feel that
Yeah.
way about my own dad.
Hmm.
And then the second reason I asked the question is, one day, my son is going to be, or my daughter is going to
Hmm.
be, 40 years old and
Yeah.
have an opinion about me. And
Hmm.
your daughter's going to be 50 years old with an opinion
Hmm.
about you.
Hmm.
And it's the things that you and I do yesterday, today, and tomorrow that are going to
Right.
impact what they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just such a reminder that what we do matters as
Yes.
fathers
Yes.
so much. It just matters. Um, okay, let me ask this question, and this will be unique for you. When did
Okay.
you embrace fatherhood? So you typically, right, you kind of have this, my wife says she's pregnant, and then I see the baby be born. This is like the wildest experience of my life. And then, we're crawling, we're walking, we're
Hmm.
doing these things. And I think, men at different times embrace fatherhood. Your situation a little different, right? Because you
Yeah.
stepfather at first, and
Hmm.
then your daughter comes along. So, at what point did you go, fatherhood matters, and I'm going
Yeah.
to take it serious?
Yeah. I think when Malik, when he came to live with us, this was in the summer of 2003, and
Mm,
he was kind of trained his dad, I guess through just some bit of protectionism, like telling him, if Michael tells you to take out the trash, then you tell him he's not the boss of you.
yeah,
If he
got it.
tells you to clean up your room, you tell, right. So this is his dad telling him this, right. So I think the memory that I have is taking him to daycare, right. So he
Mm,
arrived I think on a Saturday, and then Monday, my wife and both were working. So Monday, I took him to a daycare, right? And he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. Like, you're not my dad. And he, kind of agitated, and he was threatening to run away, and that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
and I said, listen, if you try this one day and you like it, but excuse me, I said, if you try this one day and you don't like it, then we can change it. We can change it. But if you try it and you like it, then you commit to. I didn't say commit, but paraphrasing, just you
Yeah.
commit to, let's work on this. So he
Yeah.
goes in YMCA and has a blast. He talks about all the friends he made and everything like that.
Mm,
So I never had to say a conversation like that,
mm,
early on. I mean, and there were certainly times, throughout his life where I had to, hey, let's get something straight,
for
you know.
sure. For sure.
Um, but I think that was probably one of the first moments. I think the second moment was the day my daughter was born. She's
Mm.
born October 23rd. Um, and during Monday Night Football, I was actually in the delivery room watching the Cowboys play the New York Giants. Last night they were closing Texas Stadium, the old Texas Stadium in
Mm,
Irving, and so she's born. And the next night, or that night, I took Malik back home, and I said, "How does it feel to be a big brother?" And he says
mm.
to me, he says, "How does it feel to be a real dad?" Right? You know,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
kids say, so my response to him was like, "Oh, I've been a real dad,"
Oh,
you know.
yeah. That's
So,
sweet.
and that was kind of a fatherhood connection, I think.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, to get that moment with him,
yeah,
and then because shoot, you have no idea. We have no idea. Maybe you do or don't, but what's going on in his head as
oh yeah,
mom's having a baby and the excitement around it. So, I mean, how beautiful your answer
yeah,
to him,
yeah,
with his spunky little
yeah,
response to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Um, man, what a cool moment to
yeah.
have with him. Mike, what's something can as men we can get kind of stuck in our ways about things. um what's something, and I'll give an example of my own so then you can think about yours. What's something that you were stuck in your ways on, but your family or being a father slowly changed your mind about and you made a shift? So my recent one is, I was like, I think dogs are, and everyone's going to hate me, I just think having a dog is dumb. Like, you can't travel, they do
Yeah,
nothing for you.
yeah, yeah.
I've been adamant. I told all my kids, I'll give you whatever money you need when you're 20 to get your own
Hmm.
dog at your own house,
Right,
but I'll
right,
never get a dog.
right, right.
And last year I was really challenged on being stuck in my ways. Like, everybody, I have 5 kids and a wife, and they all
Yeah,
desperately want a dog. So, anyways, we have a dog now.
yeah.
So, that's like, I mean, my daughter's 18. I got the dog
Uh-huh.
just, she was 17.
Right.
So, anyways, that was something I was stuck in my way on. And I was like, hey, this isn't my world with them living in
Yeah,
it. I'm also
yeah.
living in their world. So I made a shift. Anything come to mind for you that you adjusted on?
Um, no, I can't really think about that. I mean, now as the I guess the only male in my household, my daughter, my
Mm,
wife, and my dog, right? So um, I've been try to be pretty open. I think even as my um, daughter gets older, her ability to sort of go out and hang out with friends.
mhm.
First it was like, for an hour, and it was like, okay, be home before 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock now, right? So
Yeah.
I've tried to adjust to some of those things, right? I recall, just my parents saying, "Be home before the street light came on,"
Mm,
right?
mhm.
And so I've tried to be sort of open and um, you know change perspective, if you will. I mean, like some of the same lessons I try to um, pour out, I have to also intake. Even
Mm,
even though
yeah.
they're my lessons, like, well, don't do X, Y, and Z. Well, maybe X isn't so bad, you know.
Right.
So,
Cool. Love it. What's something you've learned about yourself through fatherhood? right? I mean, fatherhood brings so many challenges.
Yeah.
What's something that you've learned about your life, who you are, world perspective? What's something that comes to mind?
Man, I think just how incredibly fast it goes,
Hmm.
you know,
Sheesh.
like
Yeah.
just zoom,
Hmm.
you know, um, just, I think, yeah, it just, just flashes of memory that sort of come up. So it goes by fast, man. I would, certainly tell, um, all fathers that it is, even though, oh my God, I can't take it. Like,
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
gone like that. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, I'm feeling that right now, So Brooklyn, how old is your daughter again?
17.
17. She's a junior this year, going to be a
Yes, sir.
senior?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So you're about to step into this world, right, of having a senior. I mean, you've already done that once, but
Yeah.
now you're going to be even empty nesters, right? It's going to
Yeah.
be like a
Yeah.
whole nother
Yeah.
chapter
Yeah.
of navigating.
Yeah.
And dude, I just been wrestling with it's like it's been this way for 18 years, or if you
Right.
take my 11-year-old, like the seven of us have been together, and now it's
Hmm.
about to change. And so this idea that it goes fast, I hear some people talk about 18 summers, like, dang, that ain't that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somebody shared a statistic with me, and this is, generalization, but 92% of the time you spend with your kid is going to be before they move out, which is
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, that means that the rest of my life, like the time I get with them, is not going to be the same,
Yeah.
the same amount, obviously. But being intentional with those relationships. So before we get into, I want to talk about coaching. I think this will start to
Hmm.
come up, but talk to me about, because I have a really good relationship with my 18-year-old daughter, and so I
Hmm.
was like less concerned, like we'd call each other and could talk and whatnot.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you navigate your relationship with your daughter, being a pretty intense coach and a dad. How does that work? What's some advice, wisdom around that for dads?
Yeah. So I went in really, I think from the very beginning, um, went and educated myself. Right. So when I
Mm,
say educated myself, I surrounded myself, with other coaches. I went and got certified, USATF level 1 first and USATF level 2. I'm currently working on my USATF level 3, which is the highest level of track and field coaching in the U.S. So once I complete that, I'll be in the coaches pool for the Olympics. So
wow,
I,
cool.
I doubt I'll pursue going that route, but it's nice to be, considered those credentials.
Mm,
Um, you know, I try not to. It's hard, but I try not to coach um, my daughter different. But
hmm.
it's and hopefully no Marinol parents or dads are listening to this. But some of our kids, man, they don't put in the work that it takes to be at that level, right? So
Hmm.
I have to take time away from my coaching my my daughter to try to have to deal with somebody that don't really care about what my time is. I'm just out here. Um, so I think what I've done is we kind of focusing less on the physical and more on the mental preparation, right? So, so I always have that opportunity, through a drive home or, sitting at lunch or just in the house or, you know, quick text message or whatever. So, I mean, she at this age now, she gets it, right? So my hope is I'm preparing her for the next coach,
Mm,
you know. So, um, the preparing her for the next coach that's going to and understanding with her that she understands what's good and bad coaching. If a coach says
yeah,
run
that's
with your
good.
arms like this right here, you're like, oh, coach, that's not good, right? So she understands sort of from a sprinting perspective better mechanics. But yeah, sort of ramble on there, but I'd probably say just I've been able to focus more on the mental than the physical. I mean, the work is the work. So even if I have the kids that are not um, interested in getting better, the work is still the work. right? So
So shift that into, tell me a little bit more about coaching.
yes,
And
sir.
I think, what's your philosophy on coaching? What's the benefit of
Yeah,
coaching? And I think, like, even about my own life, some of the people who stand out the most to me are even my high school coaches for
yeah,
sports I played. The
yeah.
influence they have. And so I think dads have such an opportunity to get into coaching. And then, so talking about that, but then also, if there's anything else around the educating yourself, because I
Hmm.
think, like, if some dad wants to start teaching his 5-year-old soccer or track or football or whatever,
Yeah,
like, you could roll with your kid for 10 years and then
yeah,
have influence on others. So
yeah,
wrap on that.
yeah. So I think in I'm sorry, the first question was because I was ready to jump on the second question.
Just vibe on whatever. I
Yeah.
recommend
So
them all.
um, yeah, well, I think my philosophy is what we did when we started the club, Spartan Track Club. We came up with a real theme, catchy, if you will, and it was become your best self. Right.
Mm,
So we have athletes that have started that um, that don't have the physical capability or physical talent that man will give you every you know sweat bead if they could, right, and to become better, right. And for those kids I love working with because
mm,
the the want to get better, the tenacity, the hunger to get better, even though they lacked some of the physical capability. And I can think of a few that I've worked with just this past year that went from not even making the JV finals last year in the hurdles to state finalists,
wow.
right?
Yeah. Incredible.
So I'm very proud of those athletes that work to get better. And so the advice I would give to coach, I mean, today as they become coaches, let's say they're not giving scholarships, guys, to 5-year-old kids. Right? There's no
Mm-hmm.
scholarships for a 10-year-old kid. Even
Mm-hmm.
if a college offers a kid a 14-year-old, it's not a binding offer,
Mm,
right? So any coach can come up to a kid, and we like to offer you a full ride scholarship to whatever university. Well, it's not binded until you sign,
mm,
right? And that coach can be out of there and
yeah.
just in the blink of an eye, and that kind of stuff, right? So my thing is, and advice to dads, right, is um, for me with my coaching, yes, the work is the work, but do you know what the number one performance enhancing activity is?
Mm,
Anyone would probably guess the number one performance enhancing activity is sleep. Is
mm,
sleep. Is rest. Right. So the idea of go 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 go, no days off. Some days, like even when I was came to the point, like the days that we miss, it's rest too. So the days that we skip because we didn't rest are days that we can't rest on. We can't skip a rest day and
mm-hmm.
work out and think that we're going to get a rest day. It doesn't work like that, right? The pieces of the puzzle or the foundation is built on a plan. So yeah, so my advice to dads would be, if you are um, involved in your athletes, and I think it behooves all parents that are talk to your athletes, talk to your kids, right? I'll go as serious in it as my daughter wants to go in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we that's the reason why, like, I've gone and educated myself, and I did the same thing for our son, right? Got He was a basketball player, and I was like, I knew every basketball rule, right? I'd call I'm like, before the referee, before anything, right? But you know, got involved in the scoreboard, keeping the record book, keeping the scores book, ensuring the athletes had, the basketball coach had the support he needed, emailing all the parents, doing all the sort of administrative stuff to just support the team. So I'd like get involved, right?
Mm,
There's always help and support that a coach needs, and I'm blessed with the family of parents that assist me.
mm-hmm.
With our brand, we're a 501c3 organization here in the state of Hawaii and federally, honestly. and the support that we have that helps um, get our the access to tracks and the access to equipments and things like that to make the athletes better.
Oh man, I love it. What would you say? And, because you're running at pretty elite athletes, right? I mean, you guys are going to Nike Invitational,
Mm-hmm.
you guys are going to Junior Olympics. I
Yes,
mean, it's
sir.
not like you're just you guys are taking high school elite athletes and doing
Yes,
some
sir.
radical stuff. What would you say is the point of middle school, high school sports? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. What's the point of it?
For me, is the point is development.
Mm,
Yeah, it's development, right?
man, that's such a good word.
You know,
Yeah. So development and break that down for me. What do you mean by development?
well, there's mental and I'd say physical
Mm,
developments that like um, how do you um, how do you take setbacks,
mm,
right? How do you respond to setbacks? How do you um, act in victory and in defeat? How do you continue to train even though that you don't see um, improvement right away, right? So one of the quotes I always give in practice, and it's a funny quote because a lot of my coaching, if you ever came to hear me talking to the kids, you're like, what on earth is he talking about? Malasadas? What is he talking about? Powdered sugar? What is he talking about? So the analogy I give to the kids, and they get it right away because they can relate to it. So we have Leonard's Malasadas here. They're the Malasadas with the delicious, right? Leonard's
yeah,
world
so
famous,
good.
right? And so they get the powdered sugar. I said, okay, imagine eating Leonard's Malasada. You get the powdered sugar in your fingers, right? What do you do with it? And the kid's like, well, I lick it off. I said, I don't want you to lick it off. I want you to wipe it off in your shorts, right?
Mm,
So that immediately translates to better form, better mechanics.
mm,
But
mm,
so coming back to just the development part, right? I got kids that sometimes that don't see an improvement and they want to give up. And that's the development part, right? You got to be
yeah.
patient to
Mm-hmm.
allow it to come through, right? I tell kids all the time, you can't run a PR every weekend. You can't. If you run a PR every weekend, you didn't try hard enough last weekend, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
running a PR every weekend is like taking a piece of paper, folding it until it disappears, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think just harping on just development is the physicalness of getting better. Maybe it's faster, stronger, you know, that kind of thing, and just the mental aspect of like, okay, I hit a hurdle. Let's go. I had a bad start. How do I
Yeah.
respond?
Yeah.
My team is down. What do I need to do to put them back in the race? Those kind of things. Yeah.
Man, Mike, this is so powerful. I think if men, families, students, athletes knew that this was the reason why, I think that there'd be a lot more joy in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think dads would be able to partner with their kids a little bit better. So I'm just going to reiterate the things that I heard, and I'll preface it with this. I recently had somebody on the podcast, and they said that they tell their daughters, "Don't marry for personality, marry for character."
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, right? Because you're,
Yeah.
22 years old and you meet some party boy who's wicked
Yeah.
fun and whatever.
Yeah.
But how does he treat his mom? How does he show
Right.
up when he's pissed? How does,
Right.
like, et cetera. And how are our kids able to learn these things? Well, one, they learn them in our home, but the track, the field, the gym, like that's sports is their opportunity to develop their character.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys put these in your, your list of questions or
Yeah.
things in your head, but how are you handling setbacks, which goes
Mm-hmm.
back to what Mike talked about earlier, is how are you going to recover from this?
Yep. Yep.
How are you going to respond in both defeat and victory?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and shoot, man, I talked about this just the other day. Like I wasn't hoping that Violet would get second at states in a
Yeah.
couple things, but it's like we were at the Biffs, which is our island, and she got
Mm-hmm.
first in 5 categories,
Yep.
which is like, I
Yep.
feel awesome. That's great. But like, what's it like to experience second place or
Yeah.
seventh place or no place?
Yeah.
If you want to be an elite athlete, you have to experience those. Another example, my daughter just got into jiu-jitsu. She's 11, and
Mm-hmm.
she went and she had 2 comps. She got first in one and
Yep.
she lost in the second. And I thought,
Mm.
what a good day for her,
Yeah.
right? As far as development goes, like that's a
Right.
really good day for her to
Yeah.
have both experiences. Um, and then this other one, which I think is probably the most important in our day and age, is you don't see improvement right away. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people are quitting in
Oh yeah.
all ages right now
Yeah.
because of
Mm-hmm.
this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, the reason I love coaching track and field because I think it transcends um, everything that we're trying to do. Right.
Mm,
I mean,
mm,
from the standpoint of being good people, right? Are starting a job, right? So my coaching translates to me being a good leader at Hawaiian Airlines, right? Through a good
yeah,
manager, right? So I coach the
yeah.
team, right? So we're always, in a sense, running to something, right? So we start a project, we project starts, gunfires, we start accelerating. Are we doing the right things? Did we respond well? Did we get out of the blocks correctly? And I know that's like, oh my God, that's such a stretch, but honestly, I think if you think
Oh,
about it,
it's
it
on.
transcends, it transcends and translates very well, right? So, are you getting up to speed? Are you
Mhm.
accelerating at the pace? Are you able to maintain that speed? And how do you finish, right? And then how do you get prepared for the next opportunity, for the next race, right? Um, so mine is like, you mentioned Violet and the VIF, right? So all of the girls that were state champ, um, Amelia, Mia, um, I work with, and they're
Mhm.
all were part of my daughter's training during the fall. So it's funny. Someone asked me, "How can you train someone that you're training that could beat your daughter?"
Oh, interesting. It's a good
You know,
question.
and my thing is, what if my daughter wins and the time isn't good? What have we done?
Hmm.
Right. So my philosophy: a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the
Yeah.
reason why I love what your daughter's doing on the Big Island, because like you think that we didn't know about her. Right. every I follow her on athletic.net. So when that time is posted, what did Violet run? Oh, 24. Yikes. Right. So I love the track and field community here in Hawaii
Mm.
that I'm trying to bring together, because I want that. I want that for all of the athletes that are either through involved with our club or just involved with seeing that what our club, what we're doing is to get better, right? And let us all go and get reach our goals and receive college scholarships and just become your best self, whatever that may be, whatever you're striving for. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So this word, and I'm gonna butcher it, but
Okay.
I started watching this Netflix series on coaches,
Yeah.
and I can't even tell you which coach it was. You'll probably know, but he had this African word, Ubuntu. Have you heard this?
I have heard of Ubuntu. Yes.
So it's like, I am what I am
I am
because
what
of
I am.
who we all
You are.
are.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. It's like you look at
Yeah.
track and field as an example, or skateboarding or surfing or any of these
Yeah.
things. Is like, oh, that's just a selfish sport. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you. And it's not really,
Yeah.
because like you said, like we are all rising together because
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's possible and you're going to show me what's possible.
Yes.
And we're growing if we're engaged in it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
just love that idea that yes, you get out on that field and you are you versus you, but you
Mm-hmm.
also know what's possible. So you know what your body and your mind is capable of.
Indeed. Yeah.
Uh, oh man. Okay. So this podcast is Fatherhood Field Notes. You're just doing it, sharing your field notes with us. A couple last questions for you. The mantra behind it is rebel and create. And as men, we're warriors. Like we want to fight against something. We want to, have some battles, but not just to go tear something down
Yeah.
and leave it rubbish. We want to build something creative and beautiful in its place. So what's something small or large that you're rebelling against, and what do you hope to create in its place?
Well, I don't mean to just sound like a track junkie, but I think I have set a mission to change oh the Illuminati of track and field here in the
Mm,
state, right? And I say that facetiously, but also in a sense that it exists, right? There is a regime of folks that want the control to keep track and field the way track and field is in the state.
mm,
And there's me that I have um, one good advice that someone gave me a while ago, and I didn't really like this person too much, but but the advice they gave me was profound, and I use it almost every time I talk to anybody.
mm,
And the advice was simple: find the helpers,
mm, mm.
right? That you don't have to send out an APB as saying I need help, but go find them, right?
Yeah,
If
that's good.
you're interested in what I'm interested, let's work together,
Yeah.
right? And you go find people that are interested in what you're interested in, and they go find people interested in what you're interested in, right? So, and I'm finally I'm finally doing that, right? With the growth of the club and the development of the influence that I'm having over certainly the private school league and getting them to see this private school league on Oahu, getting them
Hmm.
to see the opportunities and the success that we had. When I say club-wise success of the athletes that are registered with us. I mean, we had state champion 100 meter boys, state champion 100 meters girls, state champion 200 meters boys, girls 200, 400, right? Hurdles, both hurdles, one girls 100-meter hurdles, girls 110, girls 300-meter hurdles, and the boy 110-meter hurdles, right? So we had very good success. And it's not so much just me, like Coach Harvey's going to coach you, right? But I provide the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
come run with us.
Mm, mm,
Come join
mm.
us. Let's go to the mainland. And sometimes we go to the mainland, I'll tell you, Ned, we get our behinds whipped, right?
Mm.
There are 9-year-old girls on the mainland running 56.
Wow.
9. There
Wow.
there are there are 14-year-old girls. Well, maybe a slight exaggeration about 9, but if you're a 12-year-old girl, 11 and 12-year-old girl, and you don't run 58, you don't make the finals
Wow.
at the Junior Olympics, right? If you are a 13, 14-year-old girl and you don't run 57, you don't make the finals, right? There are boys. In fact, I was looking at it yesterday because I was sharing one of the parents wants to go to the Junior Olympics, and his son is 15, 16, and his son is 11, 2-ish, right? And I said, yeah, last year, uh, 10-8 didn't make the finals,
Wow. Wow.
right?
That's fast. Yeah.
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 So,
Wow.
yeah. So, sorry. So, I'm rebelling against that, right?
Yeah.
I'm rebelling against, trying to, and I'm trying to, tear down, and build up, that opportunity, right? And again, Spartan Track Club Hawaii is the vehicle, right? I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be the catalyst to get the vehicle going. I do think I'm a decent coach, but I'm a decent coach because I try to be a good leader, right? And
Mm,
kind of giving perspective of, well, how do you think you did? What do you think you can do better?
mm-hmm.
Let's make these adjustments. So I never coach without first getting the athlete to understand, do you know what we're trying to do? Do you understand the goal? Understand why we're
Yeah.
doing this? Um, and then, we're lucky because a lot of those athletes respond because they're good kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Mike, couple things that I want dads to pick up on,
Yeah,
whether they want to coach or they want to be a good dad,
yeah,
is the way you just said this. Two things. One is, are we creating clarity for the objective? So even
hmm,
if we're talking about in your home, like what's the objective of your kid being in the home? I mean, I
yeah,
think the whole rant we did on development is a great opportunity. Like, why
Right.
are you doing the dishes? Why are you making your bed? Why do
Yeah.
we do family X, Y, and Z? We're in
Yeah.
development.
Indeed.
And so be very clear about that. Just create clarity, right? Just like
Yes.
if you're, leading your company,
Hmm.
your team at your company, you want clarity before people leave your office, right?
Yeah.
The other component that you brought up was you said it twice that you've just created a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I same terminology or same concept as I talk about creating space. So as a
Hmm.
coach or as a dad, you have the opportunity to create space. Then in that space, create some clarity, and then give the student or the athlete or your kid the ability to kind of like stumble through the guardrails and develop as a human being. So I think we have such an opportunity to create space
Oh, for sure.
for development.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend, this has been fantastic. Before I ask my last question, is there anything that I missed? Anything that you'd want to say, impart to any dads before I ask my last question?
No, this has been great, Ned. I really appreciate the opportunity here. I think I think as dads we feel like um, you know we should know everything.
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
um, and it maybe it's seen as weak as if you don't. I mean, so I think your podcast, Fatherfield Notes, right, helps as a resource,
mm,
right? To be able to um, just gain perspective. And sometimes, like, it's just a little nugget of anything. I mean, like, as I'm talking through, like, yeah, like, it's development,
yeah,
right? So, we are developing our kids, right? Track transcends, like I said, you know,
totally.
next meet. So the next meet, for me is coming. Like, we're gonna be packing up, moving to the mainland, right? My wife and I are gonna be empty nesters. I already told my daughter that I was going to turn her room into an office because it overlooks Waikiki. It overlooks the ocean,
Nice.
right? So, but anyway, yeah, no. So I think just suggesting to fathers and those new fathers, old fathers,
Mm,
stepdads,
yeah,
just keep working at it.
yeah, love it. Keep developing yourself.
Hmm.
Where can people learn more about you and Spartan Hawaii?
Oh, oh man. So we're at Spartan Track Club Hawaii .org. Um, we are 200 athletes strong across 3 islands,
Beautiful.
and over 25 plus schools. I mean, so many schools I can't name. And Instagram Track Hawaii. I don't too much have a bio or anything like that. Like I said, it's about the kids. It's for the
Yeah,
kids, right?
yeah.
So, but yeah, check us out, SpartanTrackClubHawaii.org.
Cool. Love it. All right, Mike, my last question, legacy question.
Oh,
Imagine 30 years from now, you're
yes.
standing in a cul-de-sac, you are peering into the homes of each of your kids. What is it that you see that just puts a big smile on your face and you go, all right, I did my job?
Yeah. I think some of some of the quotes that I give to the
Mm,
kids, right?
yeah.
Um,
I'm
I
not one
think,
of your little friends. I said,
no,
I'm
so
not one of your friends.
yeah, yeah, like, not one, yeah, yeah, exactly, not one of your little friends, right? But just from the standpoint of just kids taking the passion that I have for coaching, and particularly for my daughter, right? Just seeing her grow into taking some of those lessons, just being a good person, being a good leader, and helping develop the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, Mike, thank you so much. I mean, the coach you are, the husband, celebrating 21 years, the father, the stepdad,
yeah,
the influence on 200 kids, right?
yeah,
Like, that's a big deal. What an opportunity. And then I feel like selfishly honored and excited for my daughter to get to
yeah.
be able to be coached under you this summer. And just your whole approach to it. I just thank you for the way that you're operating your life and continuing to grow and develop so that you can develop those around you. Just keep at it, keep inspiring
Yes,
people, and
indeed, man.
keep becoming, man. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right,
Appreciate
my
it.
friend. Until next time. What an incredible conversation. I love his approach. I really loved our unpacking of the purpose of sports. I've been asking this more and more. I think that our culture kind of makes sports this overall, I don't know, it's like our religion almost. And it's not that it's bad. It's just I don't want us fathers, especially, to lose the sight of why my kid's in it. And then how do we allow our kid to operate in sports? Because there's an opportunity for them to be a good sport, to learn how to win, to learn how to lose, to learn how to be a teammate. And sometimes we can be so focused on like how it's reflecting on us, or just about their like general happiness, which we shouldn't be happy all the time. Like that's not the point of life. That doesn't mean you need to be sad or upset, but like, are we just chasing and teaching them to chase this dopamine hit? And so really considering the purpose of sports. And I love the conversation with Mike about development. And then even now, or also bringing that into, that's our job as fathers, is development. Are we helping develop our kids? And Mike was even talking about, am I developing my kid for their next coach? So am I and oh, I love this. He said a good coach or a bad coach. So as I'm preparing my kid for one day they'll work somewhere, one day they'll find a mate, am I helping to make them self-aware to be able to know influences that they do or don't want in their life? Incredible. My friends, if this podcast is helpful, please write a review. It helps spread the word that fatherhood matters. And then also just shoot a text to a friend like, hey, yo, dude, I see you're a great dad. You really are, doing great with your kids and blah, 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 blah. And check out this podcast. I think that you would really be inspired by it, because maybe they're a coach or maybe their kids are in sports. We have to be inspiring each other and connecting with each other around fatherhood. Us dudes cannot do this alone. Thank you, dads out there, for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Fatherhood Field Notes podcast. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kids, your spouse, and community needs, is you. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact and create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next week.